got another question on Module 2, and this one's a little more involved than the previous one. So let's read it together. Suppose that the marginal utility of x is equal to y, and the marginal utility of y is equal to x. The prices of good x and good y are $5 per unit of x, $4 per unit of y, respectively. How many units of good X does the consumer buy if she has $410 worth of income? So what do we do with this? There's a little more going on. And basically, we've got to use our information about consumer optimization. Let's X and Y. What do we know? We've got this budget constraint here, B naught. And we could be either not at an optimum point, let's say at I naught, we could either be at A if the marginal rate of substitution is greater than the relative price Px over Py in absolute value, or we could be at a B that's not optimal, and that would be if the marginal rate of substitution delta y over delta x, marginal utility of x divided by the marginal utility of y. If that's less than the price ratio, remember that the price ratio is always the slope of the budget line, and the slope of indifference curve, that's equal to the marginal rate of substitution. That's equal to the amount of y we'd give up for one more unit of good x, which is also equal to the marginal utility of x divided by the marginal utility of y. So now, that's what we know from the chapter, and then this problem asks us to put all this information together in a particular way. So I'm just going to, once you figure out what material in the chapter will help you answer any particular question, then it turns into plugging and chugging. And I've sort of just told you what pieces of information you need, so now I've turned it into a plug and chug. But the heavy lifting is going through the chapter and figuring out, okay, what do I know that would help me answer this question? And then once you see it, then it's plug and chug. But seeing it is not easy. I'm going to change my pen color to blue and solve this problem out now. So I know at optimality, I'm going to be somewhere like this. And let's just see where we might be, and that we'll call that point C. So are we at point C? That's the big question. If we were at point C, the marginal utility of x divided by the marginal utility of y would be equal to, well, that's the marginal rate of substitution. That's going to equal y over x. And we also know that at optimality, that's going to equal px over py, which is 5/4. So that's one relationship between y and x. Another way to put that, I'm just going to multiply through by x to show that y is always going to be equal to 5/4 times the amount of x we have. All right, well, do we know anything else about this situation that would help us solve? Because right now there's an infinitude of points that will satisfy this relationship. So let's think what else we know. I know you're jumping at it and can't believe I'm so slow in pointing it out. But the budget constraint, remember, we know about what the marginal rate of substitution has to look like. At optimum, it has to equal the slope, in absolute value anyway, of the relative price ratio. So we also know, we know that the budget line we also know the relationship between x and y that's given by the budget line, right? So price of x is 5 times the quantity of good x we have, plus 4 times the quantity of good y we have, is equal to 410. So That's from the budget constraint. This is from the optimality condition, and now I have two equations and two unknowns, and I can get a unique solution here. So I can substitute in 5/4 x for y, and I get 5x plus 4 times 5/4 x. Altogether, that has to equal to 410. And notice that what I got here, these 4's cancel. 5x plus 5x, 10x equals 410. X equals 41. And this problem was a multiple choice one, but in your quiz, I'm just going to give it open-ended, and you're just going to have to determine the answer. So I'm not going to bother going through that multiple choice problem. You should be able to take a problem like this home in just without anything to choose from. Just find the unique answer.